Okay, so this is a 1963 Fender Strat, a 70-year-old design by Leo Fender. And this is Fender's new Ultra II. It's what they call the pinnacle of innovation and evolution of Fender guitars. As always, this video is not sponsored. Fender reached out asking if I wanted to check out the guitar, but never did I say I would make it in a video. They don't get to see it before you do, and they don't have anything to say about what goes in it or what doesn't. So, are we looking at a much needed evolution, or is it just an iconic model in a new jacket? Actually worth it. So what changed in 70 years? So what I noticed immediately is the volume knob. And I didn't say this yet, but I want you to know that I've never played an Ultra Strat before. So you can also consider this as a broader look at the Ultra line and not as much as an Ultra 1 versus an Ultra 2 video, because I guess that video would be pretty short by the looks of it. Not too much has changed. But that volume knob, I love it. It has a very rubbery feel to it, which makes it so comfortable, like good grip, great resistance of the pot meter. It's great overall. I would like to have this on all my guitars, assuming it's durable. And while we're in this general area, the tactile feedback on that 5-way switch is great. Like, listen to how it sounds. Oh, this makes my 63 Strat with the 3-way switch feel like a toy. For example, getting it in position 4. When it's there, it's nice. Anyway, so before we go to the new noiseless pickups that I'm really afraid of, one thing that immediately feels hugely different is the radius of the fretboard. It's quite flat, from 10" at the nut to an even flatter 14" towards the body. And especially compared to the 63 Strat, which is 7" but also compared to my Fiesta Red that I love so much, which is 9.5, it is quite a drastic change. And I do love a compound radius neck. It gives you the best of both worlds. It's comfortable to play chords lower down the neck and wrap your thumb around it and play bar chords. And it's easier to fret higher notes and bend. And play faster runs higher up the neck. And I like the fretboard, but my preference does go out to a little bit rounder. But this is more of a modern Super Strat feeling, which suit the Ultra line, I guess. So the neck is a piece of quarter-sawn maple, and Daisy Tempest made an excellent video about this that I recommend watching if you're interested in that. The links are below. But in short, it's a matter of how the piece of wood is taken from a tree.
See, within that section, all of the grain is going...
And quarter-sawn makes the neck more stable, and it's quite a comfy neck. They call it a modern D profile, and I think it means there's a bit more shoulder to the neck. And although it's a little bit thicker than a slim C, I would still call this a slim neck, especially compared to the 63, which is quite chunky, but also compared to this one, it's a little bit slimmer, but this one is weird as well, it's tapered. I have nothing against this profile. And one thing I really like is the rolled off edges around the neck. It makes this guitar feel played in, and it's so much smoother going up and down the neck. Which you do, and which you do a lot, because you can go so high. The sky's the limit. We've got a high D, ladies and gentlemen. 22 frets instead of 21 on my vintage spec Strat. Why not? I like having an extra fret. It's not really new. But what is new for me is the sculpted heel over here. And I like it. So let's say you're vibing in A minor pentatonic. every day. On a traditional Strat, you really feel it, like the point over here, this point, it sticks in your hand. And I never really cared, but when you go back and forth between this and this, the sculpted heel, that's when you notice. That's when you notice it's quite an improvement in feel and reach. So yeah, I kind of like it. Now, the pickups. And on here we've got the newly voiced Ultra II noiseless pickups. And although the idea is lovely, so far noiseless pickups never really convinced me. I changed the ones in my Fender American Deluxe a few years back because they sounded a bit dull and I missed the spark and the life in them. So my expectations were not too high. So first, the noiseless bit. Do they work? Yeah. Nice. That's actually great, especially when I'm sitting behind my desk. There's a lot of buzz and static going on. So yeah, they are noiseless. But how do they sound? Well, I mean, you've been hearing the guitar too, so please do let me know what you think. But to my ears, the neck pickup, it's really amazing. So it's actually on par with my red one. It's just bizarre. I can hear a difference, a big difference with the 63. The 63 is just so loud and boomy. The bass is just unheard of. So I'm going to compare it to my Strat, the red Pinnacle Relic. And I just cannot hear a difference. So this is the neck pickup. And this, I mean, this one is really nice. I love this guitar. But in terms of sound, I don't hear a difference. I recorded a little chunk on both guitars, and I couldn't tell which one was which. And the same goes for the bridge pickup. And yes, I'm using some delay just to spice things up. Life is boring, we need some more spice, so I'm using some delay. Wow, that's volume knob, I love it. So, it's really chimey and it goes for both guitars, really, they sound great. So, it's indistinguishable for me to my Pinnacle Relic, and that says a lot. But where it is different is on the in-between setting. So let's say position 4, let's do a clean sound. Let's do some... So this one is a little bit more jangly, and I like jangly. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but with some sounds it can be a little bit too jangly. Let's say kind of like this. You know what I mean? It's great. So yeah, overall, I kind of hate how good those pickups sound because I always thought we needed to have the hum, we needed to have the static to, you know, to get the goodness as well. But maybe I can changed my mind on that. So next up, some mild annoyances. So first of all, we have the S1 switch, which leaves me a little bit underwhelmed. So it only affects position 1, so the bridge pickup, and the bridge in the middle, because it adds the neck pickup to both in parallel. And I just don't really care for that sound. First the bridge. And now we add the neck to it. And the same goes for like having all 3 pickups. We can, but how does it sound? Maybe Fender, if you're watching, you can put a loop function in here. Anyway, now to the pickguard. So this is anodized aluminum, and some say it affects the tone. Some say it gives better shielding. All I know for sure that the looks aren't necessarily my favorite thing. What I do like though is that it reminds me of those old Tellys and Strats that had that single ply pickguard, so that's kind of nice. But if I could choose, I would just have a regular 3-ply pickguard here. But what does annoy me just a little bit is the little gap over here. So the radius or the curve of the body is already happening here, but the pickguard is still flat, so that leaves a little hole, like a little gap over there, and just cannot stop looking at it. I was wondering what fits in there. Like, my pick doesn't fit, but I'm sure maybe the price tag will. So now to the luminlay side dots. What's up with those? They have a weird look to it. What is great, like they glow up in the dark, which is super cool and really handy, because I had gigs where I was like freaking out because I couldn't see and I was hoping I hit the right fret. So that's great. But the whole look of it is a little bit unbalanced to me. Like they look a bit cross-eyed. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a little bit nitpicky here, but I don't know. I just don't particularly enjoy looking at them. And you are looking at them a lot when you play. Also, we have the 2-point synchronized bridge with tremolo arm, or so the specs say. But in my case, the arm wasn't in the box. It just wasn't there. I looked 100 times, so maybe it disappeared. Where all the picks go? In the vortex, or maybe something weird happened there. Maybe it's my fault. I'm not sure, but I didn't get to try the whammy bar. I didn't do any dive bomb. It's really the first time I'm trying this. Wow. That's kind of nuts. Anyway, in the 2 weeks that I had the guitar, I found the tuning to be very stable and I had no issues with it whatsoever. So before we wrap up, here are the locking tuners. Those are great. I would like to have them on all my guitars. I had them on my American Deluxe in 2005 already, so it's nothing new really on Fender Strats, but I think it is super handy. We have a nut made from Tusk, which according to the internet sounds really, really amazing. I've never A-B'd it to bone or to plastic, so I wouldn't know, but we just have to believe the internet here, right? And underneath that glossy urethane finish is an alder body. And I think everyone knows that alder is just, it's the best stone wood out there. It's great. So the price will be, if I've seen it correctly, around 2,500 euros here. But looking at the build quality, the craftsmanship and all the details, I have actually very little complaints. I would call this a very good guitar, and the whole guitar just feels right somehow, like how the neck fits in the pocket, like how stable it is. You feel it's very nicely built. The feel on the neck is great. And then imagine it's half the price of a Fender custom shop, and that's kind of nuts really. It's also more affordable than many boutique S-style guitars, so in that regard I think you're getting a lot of guitar for your money. But still, it is a significant amount for a non-custom shop Fender. My custom shop, I picked this one up for around that same kind of money, even cheaper, and I did my refrets. Anyway, that's always an option and something to keep in mind. And this one is getting better and better and better. Anyway, I guess this is what the pinnacle of guitar design looks like in a very conservative world. And I get it, there's a fine margin between alienating your own designs and your customers and being innovative. And I think this model falls right there in that slot. Nothing too wild, but also some useful updates to a 70-year-old design. So now, as with every good review video, I need a summary and I wasn't sure what to say. So I thought, if I just have to conclude with one sentence, what would that one sentence be? Well, I think it became the perfect summary for this guitar. This could be my only Strat. Yeah, it could. I mean, I would cry for a minute, say goodbye to my babies, and then I would get on with the rest of my life. Like, everything on here feels at home. Maybe apart from the fretboard radius, but I could get used to that. And I didn't expect that when I first looked at this guitar or when I first picked it up. But as soon as I started playing, I just stopped thinking about the guitar. And, you know, for me, that's always a #1 sign I'm playing a good instrument, when you just stop thinking about it. That's it. Let me know what you think. Is this something you're interested in? A more modern Fender Strat? Or are you more, you know, looking for this vintage? Man, it feels very strange playing this next to each other, because this one feels so old, but it also has the mojo. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time with another video. Cheers.